This is Duke University.
I would like to welcome all of you, graduates, family members, and friends, to this wonderful celebration of the Sanford graduate class of 2014. It is an exhilarating moment not only because of what our students have accomplished to arrive here today, but also because of the amazing potential they have to change the world. Today we honor 3 groups of students, 76 Master of Public Policy students, 38 Master of International Development Policy students, who, by the way, hail from 21 different countries, and 3 PhD students. This is my first year as Dean of the Sanford School. I have been amazed by many things, among them the desire, ingenuity, and diversity of our graduate students. Before joining us, they had studied in fields including economics, psychology, English, political science, engineering, history, public health, international relations, international development, biology, and sociology, and that just begins the list. They had worked as educators, nonprofit managers, hospital administrators, marketing associates, government managers, finance directors, and bankers. They worked on political campaigns and on Capitol Hill. We taught them, but they also taught us, and you could easily see this given the diversity of backgrounds. Several are U.S. military veterans. Quite a few are Peace Corps alumni. Among our MIDP students, the largest numbers came from Turkey, from India, from Indonesia, and the Republic of Korea. They worked very hard to gain a common set of skills that they will apply in a great many work settings: expertise in policy analysis, economic and political analysis, project management, and negotiations. Their public policy internships were as diverse as their backgrounds. They worked in Geneva, Switzerland, and capital cities such as Raleigh, North Carolina, and Washington, D.C. They worked in rural India, in Chile, in Rwanda. They studied topics as varied as education reform, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, food policy, environmental health, and economic development. They also gave back by devoting countless hours of volunteer service to the school and to the city of Durham. Through the Sanford Board Leadership Initiative, they volunteered with a dozen local nonprofit organizations. They founded the Duke Interdisciplinary Social Innovators Group. They formed a student academic committee and provided us with curriculum recommendations. They attended a workshop on racial equality. And for the first time, they sent a team to the nationally recognized Holt Prize competition, a startup accelerator for social good, and went far into the competition. Our MPP and MIDP students also met a challenge in their brand new roles as alumni of the Sanford School. The MIDP class exceeded 92% in participation to the class gift, setting a record for that class, and for the first time in the history of the school, our MPP students reached 100% participation, something to be very proud of. This class gift is an exemplar of the ingenuity of people graduating this weekend. From this class sprang the idea that students might have an added incentive to contribute to the class gift if their gift was matched. 2 Sanford MPP alums from the class of 1990, Anna Riley and Matt Cullinan, were generous in agreeing to provide this match. They provided it in the amount of a 1-to-1 match if the students gave at the rate of 80%, that is 80% of the class participated, a 2-to-1 match if we exceeded 90%, and a 3-to-1 match if we got to 100%. So the gifts from the students get leveraged into far greater gifts because of the generosity of our alums, and this generation of support from our alums to the current students is recognized. Matt and Anna were delighted to learn that such a positive outcome has been reached. The generosity of our students and alums is greatly appreciated and helps us to support future generations of students. Amidst all the activities of graduate school, 10 students embarked on the most amazing life adventure of all and became parents. Congratulations to these new parents and to all mothers in the audience. Tomorrow being Mother's Day, offers us the opportunity to celebrate you as well as our graduates. It is inspiring to reflect on all that these graduates have accomplished, and we are delighted to honor them today. I would now like to turn my attention to the introduction for our distinguished alumnus speaker of Danny Werfel. On March 24, just a few months ago, the Boston Consulting Group made the following announcement. The Boston Consulting Group announced today that Danny Werfel, will be joining the firm's Washington, D.C. office as a director in the public sector practice. In this role, he will help clients overcome challenges to achieve lasting improvements in organizational and operational effectiveness and efficiency. This marked a transition for Danny as he moved to the public sector after a highly distinguished career in public service. Prior to his most recent chapter in government, which I will explain shortly, Danny was a trial attorney for the Civil Rights Division in the U.S. Justice Department. He then devoted 16 years of his career to work in the U.S. Office of Management and Budget. At OMB, Danny rose through the ranks quickly, culminating in being named Federal Controller in 2009. This is an impressive title, but when you hear what the Federal Controller does, you're going to be even more impressed. This means being Chief Financial Officer for the entire U.S. government. He later assumed the position of Deputy Director of Management at OMB. During his time there, Danny carried out waste and fraud reduction campaign programs, and after the Great Recession, managed billions of dollars in stimulus funds. In May of 2013, you may remember, the Internal Revenue Service, deep in controversy for alleged targeting of conservative political groups, needed inspired leaderships. For this, President Obama asked Danny Werfel to assume leadership of the IRS, and Danny became acting commissioner. He was hailed as a nonpartisan professional of the highest caliber, an expert problem solver, and a trusted leader. He guided the agency through turbulent and difficult times, helped restore trust and confidence, and has countless fascinating stories about this experience. Danny Werfel's career illustrates what dedication to the public good really means. His work shows us that there is a place for creativity, high ethical standards, and inspired leadership in public jobs, and that these traits can be recognized and celebrated. Please join me in welcoming Danny Werfel.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean Brownell. And let me extend my appreciation to the entire Sanford School community for inviting me here today. It is an honor. 17 years ago, I sat where you sit. And I was somewhat stressed out at that very moment. What was causing me this stress? Well, one might think it was the fact that I did not have a job lined up yet that was causing me stress that day, but that wasn't it. Actually, I was stressed out because on that day, my parents, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, were meeting my then girlfriend's parents, born and raised in rural Ohio, for the first time. Literally, 10 minutes before the graduation ceremony started, the awkward handshakes and pleasantries were exchanged, and I spent much of the ceremony wondering how I was going to survive the rest of the weekend. Well, I'm happy to report that everything worked out okay, and I am now happily married to that same woman, and she is sitting right over there, along with our 2 children, who appear to be making good on their promise to me to be on their very best behavior today. I find it appropriately symbolic that our first meeting of our parents occurred at my Duke graduation ceremony. Graduation, of course, is about the completion of your journey here, but I think it is equally about the beginning of your next journey, which is why I suppose they call this a commencement ceremony. You are at the beginning of something right now, about to walk down a path, which for many of you, I assume the destination is unknown. Now, I cannot predict where that path will take you. Yet, interestingly, and somewhat remarkably, the faculty speaker at my Duke graduation ceremony actually made a prediction during his speech that essentially and somewhat eerily came true for me. The faculty speaker that year was Professor Dick Stubbing, who unfortunately passed away about 10 years ago. Back when I went to Sanford, Professor Stubbing, I think as you all have heard, was an extremely popular professor and was often chosen as the faculty speaker at graduation. And I had formed a close bond with him. He taught budgeting, and before that had been a fixture at the Office of Management and Budget from the Kennedy administration to the Reagan administration, and it was because of him that I did finally end up landing a job later that summer at the Office of Management and Budget, where I would ultimately spend 15 plus years in varying capacities. So what was Professor Stubbing's prediction during his graduation remarks? During his speech, he painted a hypothetical picture of a White House dealing with a crisis, and then went on to tell the graduating class how the story of that crisis unfolded. To do so, he assigned several of the graduating students different roles that they might play in order to try to resolve this hypothetical crisis. One graduating Sanford student served as the president's chief of staff. One was the head of the Domestic Policy Council. And Professor Stubbing actually assigned me a role as well in his future White House, saying something like, quote, "And then the White House Chief of Staff summoned Danny Werfel to provide a quick analysis on the legal implications of the issue." Well, shoot forward almost 16 years from the day of that speech, and sure enough, the actual White House Chief of Staff summoned me to his office to help with an actual crisis. As Dean Brownell mentioned, the IRS was in the middle of a political firestorm. The previous leader had resigned, and the Chief of Staff, along with the President and the Secretary of the Treasury, asked me to step away from my role at OMB and instead lead the IRS through what we all knew would be an extremely complicated situation. I served 7 months as the acting commissioner at the IRS until the more permanent commissioner, John Koskinen, a fellow Duke grad, by the way, was confirmed by the Congress. During those 7 challenging months, there are about 1,000 different moments that I could share with you that I think would be extraordinarily interesting and relevant to anyone who is setting out on a journey in public service. But one moment in particular seems the most appropriate to share with you today. First, just a little context. I was, for the most part, a behind-the-scenes guy before I left OMB. I had testified a lot at congressional hearings, had a good deal of press interaction, but nothing in the neighborhood of what I would experience when my name was announced for the IRS job. The day and evening of the announcement, I saw my picture on every news network. I was even talked about on the Howard Stern show. Lots of media stories started to emerge that night and for the next several days around the theme, just who is this Danny Werfel? Can we trust him? But my first opportunity to actually speak to the public, my first chance for the media and the public to hear my voice as the new IRS commissioner, to hear my plan, to hear what I thought of all that was happening, was at a congressional hearing roughly a week and a half after my start at the IRS. The night before that hearing, you better believe I was nervous. I knew the media coverage of the hearing would be intense, and I knew that my words, my demeanor, and my approach would be closely scrutinized and commented upon. And also something that was weighing on me was that I knew that this first public appearance would be very closely watched by the more than 85,000 people that make up the IRS workforce that I now led. I felt as if everyone was waiting to hear what I would say and how I would say it. And I have to admit, I was not overly confident the night before that hearing. I had doubts that I could find the right voice in the midst of all the complicated dynamics that were emerging at the time. So with my confidence not where it needed to be, at about 9 p.m. the night before the hearing, I phoned a friend. And that friend was a man named Dan Tangerlini. Dan, just a year earlier, had stepped into a similar situation at the General Services Administration, or GSA. The GSA administrator had resigned over a scandal of an expensive Las Vegas conference, and the White House Chief of Staff had asked Dan to step in at a moment's notice and lead the organization through their crisis. So Dan was the perfect person for me to talk to in that moment, because not only had he walked in my shoes, he had done it with grace and effectiveness. Not to mention, he is someone I simply admire and trust. And the advice Dan gave me on that call was not only the perfect message for me heading into that public appearance, it was the perfect message for my entire tenure at the IRS, and I believe it is the right message for you as you set out on your careers in public service. Dan told me, no matter what happens during the hearing, no matter how crazy it gets, how sharp the rhetoric, how much of a circus atmosphere it may become, no matter the sound bites, the talking points, the various political narratives being laid out before you, remember who you are and what your job is. You are a public sector management expert, he told me. You are a substantive, thoughtful, and patient presence in the middle of everything that might be going on around you. You are an expert being brought in, like you have been many times before in your career, to tackle a public sector management challenge. You need to do what you always do and what you were trained to do. Roll up your sleeves and objectively and analytically assess the management challenges that exist. Rely on credible evidence in drawing your conclusions. Thoughtfully construct an action plan to address the management weaknesses you find, and drive a robust process for implementing your plan. And anything not grounded in substance and evidence is not something you need to engage in. I thought about Dan's words as I walked into that hearing room. Under the intensity of the glaring lights and cameras, as well as the glaring eyes of some of the members of Congress, I believe I had found the right mindset. Any question that came my way during that hearing or in subsequent hearings in my daily work environment, I looked at through that lens. A public sector management challenge, an expert being brought in, substantive, analytic, patient, relying on credible evidence, driving toward the right answer, separating out the noise. This can be a very valuable mindset to have when you are in an environment where premature, speculative, or subjective conclusions are having a complicating effect on the issues and the discussion. Whenever such distractions, and there were many, added complexity to the situation I was facing, I attempted to filter them through the lens of what is the right thing to do to fix the problem I was asked to fix. To embody this mindset, my leadership team at the IRS and I developed a question that we would ask ourselves whenever we felt like there was a risk that we may be swerving off of our primary role and mission. And that question was, are we following our true north? Our true north became the phrase that symbolized for us our effort to keep with the identity and role that Dan Tangerlini had so aptly framed out for me on that phone call. So what will your true north be in your journey in public service? I encourage your true north to be a constant search for the right answer, to distrust the soundbite or talking point that is not backed up by objective evidence or reliable analytics, to seek to raise the level of dialogue to ensure that fair, substantive, and multi-layered analyses drive our public policy outcomes of the future. I want to thank you all for choosing a career that will involve you in public service. I want to congratulate you for completing your work here at Duke. I want to wish you well as you start your new journey. And I want to make an offer to each and every one of you that if you ever feel like you're losing your bearing on True North and you need to phone a friend, my line is always open. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Good morning. My name is Krupp, and I'm the Director of Graduate Studies for the Master of International Development Policy program. This is a graduate program for mid-career development practitioners from all over the world. And as Kelly noted, we have 51 graduating fellows, counting those for May and September, from 21 different countries, ranging from, seriously, Armenia to Zambia. And they have an average of 9 years of international development experience. They're also quite a prolific group. New babies were born to 9 of our graduating fellows this year, setting a new MIDP fertility record. You may have heard about some problems with falling fertility rates in developing countries, we're here to tell you they're here. Many of our fellows, upon graduation, will return home to their countries to work in their governments, or non-government organizations, or nonprofits, or the private sector. Others will move on to new jobs in the United States and international development organizations, also nonprofits and private firms, and some will pursue additional practical training. One thing is true of all of them: we are proud of you. And now I'd like to address the graduates just for a minute. It has been very gratifying to me and to the other faculty and staff to see you make progress. We remember you coming here as struggling first-year students, trying to adjust to the culture shock of graduate school, and for most of you, also the culture shock of being in the US, okay? And how to learn how to manage your time, to do economic and statistical analysis, to write policy memos, to write academic papers, and most importantly, to use proper citation techniques. Now, you are more seasoned, you're more relaxed, some might say a bit too relaxed. You're second-year students who learn to juggle the assignments, but you also manage to carve out time together, and you've grown to be a very tight-knit community. You might not believe me now, but someday soon, you will look back on your years here at Duke, and you will miss those problem sets, those late-night study sessions, the readings, the team meetings. Well, maybe it will take a while. We are proud of what they have accomplished, what you have accomplished here, and we are grateful to you for what you have brought to us. It is not just this one-way street. The best part is that you are now full-fledged, permanent, lifetime members of the Sanford family with relatives scattered all over the world. So stay in touch with us, the faculty and the staff of Sanford, and with each other. I now have the pleasure of introducing the MIDP Student Speaker. Chosen by her classmates, her name is Smriti Sharma, or Shine, as she is called by her friends. Shine is from India, where she worked for many years prior to coming here as a business journalist and a newscaster. She was actually a news anchor. During her time here in the MIDP program, she took many challenging economics and statistics-focused courses, and having had her in several of my classes, I can vouch for her ability to ask penetrating and insightful questions. She also has very polished presentation and debate skills. So please welcome Smriti Sharma, the 2014 graduating class speaker.
All right. Dean Brownell, professors, and my very dear MIDP fellows. It's a glorious morning, and why it's a glorious morning, I'll come to that in a bit, but let me take you 3 years back. 3 years back, not 2 years back. 3 years back, when you told your parents, maybe your spouse or your friends, that you're going to study international development, some of you, or probably most of you, were told that pursuing a graduate degree at this stage of your career is sheer madness. Do you remember being told, hey, how can you leave this great job in between when you can get 2 promotions or you can earn so much more money? But you did not listen to them. You ditched the temptation to settle into your comfort zone. You heard your inner voice, you followed your heart. I'm sure in these 2 years, on some very bad days, you must have doubted your own decision. But most days, and especially today, you know that you took the right decision. Today is a glorious morning because today we all get to celebrate the champion inside of us. It's a huge feat, and we all must laud our hard work, perseverance, and gumption for coming this far. So I want you all to give yourself a big hand. And also, it's a glorious morning because today we have to recommit ourselves to that old passion, because money will tempt us again, designations will tempt us again. Don't ever forget that every passion in life is accompanied with some degree of madness, so I urge you all to stay passionate and stay mad. I walked up to some of you to ask how I can best represent you, and you said, make sure you say something to us in our language. So I want to say thank you to each one of you in your language for allowing me the honor to represent you. So please brace yourself for some really bad pronunciations, because here it comes. And while I do that, please cheer each other, show your solidarity for each other. I start with Turkey, Teşekkür ederim. Indonesia, terima kasih. Korea, kamsahamnida. There's only one from Kazakhstan, so please be louder, right? Rahmat, Kazakhstan. Arigato gozaimasu for Japan. Armenia, you're such a tongue twister, but you are Shnora Kalatun. Thailand, Kapunka. Brazil, muito obrigada. Mexico, gracias. Chile, bien gracias. Italy, grazie. And our friend from Burkina Faso, as well as Russia, so merci and spasibo. And a friend from Afghanistan who's not here, but Manana and Tashakor. Bhutan, Kadinchila, Zambia, Zikoma Kwambiri. And dear God, Myanmar, Kizu Tinbade. All right, thank you so much. And thank you to those who say thank you in English. I did not say thank you in Hindi because it is only one of the more than 20 official languages spoken in India. Thank you, everybody, for bestowing the honor upon me to represent MIDP. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I do know that I'm speaking for most here. 2 years back, when we came here, the magnitude of what we got ourselves into truly hit us. We all had aspired to be at the best university. We had aspired to study international development. We had aspired to change the world. And here we were, at one of America's top 10 grad schools, jostling in and out of Rubenstein and Sanford buildings, constantly rubbing shoulders with the best of minds. As I met you, my dear fellow colleagues, I realized I was going to be in the middle of something truly spectacular. Here we had at Sanford people from all around the world, speaking different languages, coming from different cultures, and with varied work experiences, some senior government officials, some young activists, some from the NGOs, some from the private sector, investment, tax, legal professionals, everybody so bright, and yet one thing was common. It did not matter how many years of experience you had behind you, it did not matter how brainy and hardworking you were, everyone was struggling to submit their policy analysis paper at 11:55 at night, everyone fighting tooth and nail to beat those deadlines. It's absolutely amazing how the resource room, computer lab, Perkins, and law school library became home for so many people. I mean, who can ever forget, where is Varnett? Yeah, who can ever forget Varnett bringing a luggage bag to school with a computer, night clothes, and even 3 meals? Of course, the courses we took, the classes we attended, and the papers we wrote stimulated us intellectually. But the most inspiring ideas came when we spoke to each other. We took every opportunity to catch up in the corridors, in the parking lots, in the students' lounge to discuss new ideas. And when nothing worked, we went to Gross Hall. These days we go to Gross Hall, especially around the evening time when free cookies, coffees, hot chocolate are served. I'm told free cookies and coffees, they help create innovation, and I absolutely believe that. And although this day is so much about us, our achievements, could it be without the endeavors of our professors? I was recently speaking to a potential student from India about why she should consider Sanford School and why especially our program, MIDP program. And I told her that MIDP has faculty from many countries. the professors you would interact with at MIDP are practitioners. They will teach you not just policy frameworks, project management tools, and cost-benefit analysis, but you will also imbibe from them a unique wisdom that comes from empathy, approachability, kindness, sensitivity, and humor, attributes which are far more valuable to all development practitioners than anything else. I must quote a young and talented Italian opera singer, Cecilia Bartoli, who said, "A good teacher will teach you the technique, but a good teacher will also teach you how to listen to your own voice." All of us have been taught some great courses by some great professors at Duke, but what really made the difference was this. Each of us today is graduating as an independent thinker. Friends, I started my speech by saying it's a glorious morning. It is, for today is the day not only you and I celebrate our successes, but there are people who have silently and patiently waited for us while we were making our dreams come true. Old parents, lovely wives, and loving husbands put their present on hold while we shaped our future. Personally, I stand here today for my family and my dearest friends in India who are waiting to pop the bubbly when I go back. And I also stand here for you, Niyaz Shinwari. You were my most precious friend, guide, and teacher. Himavan, Nur Kulis, are they here or are they still in the library? Oh, they're here. Okay, please, for heaven's sake, vacate those libraries. Sylvia Fontana, Ana Lucia, and Janina. Yes, I know it will hurt you, but you must say goodbye to the resource room. Sitali? We must open a champagne tonight. Everybody knows you don't drink, so that's fine. We'll drink the champagne. We'll buy you a big tumbler of water. That's fine. I urge you all to celebrate your success hard with your loved ones because sincerely, you all owe a big part of this joyride to them. Many congratulations, my dear friends. I wish you all love and luck.
Okay, and now we have the donning of the hoods for the MIDP graduates. Would you graduates please rise?
Good morning. It is my pleasure to present the Master of International Development Policy graduates. And I know it's hard, but I would like to ask you to hold your applause until all the fellows are hooded. Thank you so much. Rabindra Agarwal, India. Serhan Achigos, Harun Akas, Turkey. Serhan Achigos, Turkey. Muhsin Achi, Turkey. Yerzan Burkanov, Kazakhstan. Jinyong Choi, Korea. Nur Choles, Indonesia. Nigea N. Chorley, Australia. Pankuri Dut, India. Janina Cuevas Zuniga, Mexico. Ali Ildirim Eker, Turkey. Selim Erbachi, Turkey. Silvia Marinella Fontana, Italy. Anderson Freitas de Cerqueira, Brazil. Ana Lucia Garcia Briones, Mexico. Susana Garcia Garcia, Mexico. Niger Nanela Green, United States. Aziz Akin Gulhan, Turkey. Emiko Imao, Japan. Leni Permata Indrawan, Indonesia. Partomuan Junil, Indonesia. Arti Kanwar, India. Suleiman Kelesh, Turkey. Eko Kurniawan, Indonesia. Lidi Ki, Burkina Faso, Russia. Chong Hun Lee, Korea. Ik Jin Lee, Republic of Korea. Ira Lubis, Indonesia. Wilson Kimeli Nayoma, Kenya. Ahmet Onur Ozturk, Turkey. Tashi Penjore, Bhutan. Darat Pranoto, Indonesia. Eudora Blay Pritchard, Liberia. Ana Paula Saad Khalil, And she's from Brazil. Red Sangster, Canada. Himawan Saputro, Indonesia. Selvakumar Sirengerayan, India. Kiki Nurman Setiawan, Indonesia. Ebru Sevik, Turkey. Smriti Sharma, India. Muyatwa Sitali, Zambia. Ramesh Kumar Sudanshu, India. Wayanet Sukasem, Thailand. Kiuk Sung, Korea. Erkan Tek, Turkey. Husnu Tekin, Turkey. Aung Thant, Myanmar. Satya Prakash Timia, India. Veronica Paz Toledo Medina, Chile. Hracha Topalian, Armenia. And Alejandro Weinstein, Chile. Okay. And now Dr. Corey Krupp, the Director of Graduate Studies for the Master of International Development Policy, will recognize the graduate certificates in International Development Policy.
Okay, we have a number of MIDP graduate certificate recipients. These fellows did some additional work to qualify for certificates, so I'd just like to recognize them. If you could please just hold your applause till I hit every set. And when I announce your name, fellows, please rise. So the MIDP recipient of the UNC Graduate Certificate in Nonprofit Leadership, Negea Chorley. The recipients of the Graduate Certificate in Latin American and Caribbean Studies, Susana Garcia, Veronica Medina, and Janina Zuniga. Okay. Okay, so the next set, you all stand together, then we applaud. The UNC Graduate Certificate in International Peace and Conflict Resolution. So Anna Khalil, Negea Chorley, Sylvia Fontana, Anderson Fritas, Wilson Kameli, Rhett Sangster, and Muatwa Sitali. Okay, and now the list of those who are non-MIDP fellows who received the Graduate Certificate in International Development Policy. Hassan Anwar, Tyler Bonin, Nina Brooks, Danis Brown, Daryl Childers, Heian Cho, Nicola Clark, Adrian Comte, Mohammed El Uridi, Anna Flam, Sukanya Garg, Colin Geisenhofer, Michelle Kirby, Kimberly Hill, Rachel Honig, Anusha Jagannathan, Rhonda Klavansky, Brenda Lara, Robert Mason, Isel Masses, Laura Morrison, Will Morrison, Roxanne Naninga, Russell Owen, Krista Owens, April Raffiou, Jennifer Rimbach, Victoria Santa Marina, Christine Sarikis, Julianne Shelton, Ashley Thompson, Michael Wilson, and Christine Yip. Congratulations to all of you.
I'm Mac McCorkle, Director of the Masters of Public Policy program. For those who were at our family event last night, I want to tell you that my face is still rather tasty from the pie in the face I received from this very creative MPP class graduating. We're not just proud of their creativity, we're proud of this being our largest class, hitting over the 75 student threshold mark when we consider dual degrees and MPPs. And even though we have grown in the last couple years, we stayed committed to having learning in a real community, not in an airport. We really have a supportive faculty, staff, and today parents, and last night parents, and that we're very, very proud of. Our students have distinguished themselves in the classroom, but also serving on community boards here in Durham, doing research projects for organizations as far away as Myanmar and as close as the Durham city government. So we're very proud of our distinctive emphasis as a public policy school. As I said last night, I'm a Terry Sanford guy all the way down. I was one of the last generation of one of his aides, and I can tell you that he would really be proud of this class, and that this class should be proud to have the Sanford name attached to themselves as they go out in the real world. For those of you who don't know a lot about Terry Sanford, he led North Carolina in a different direction than the rest of the South on the issues of race and education in the early 60s during very turbulent, tough times, and provided an example to the South and the nation. He then went on to broker the key developments that led to putting Research Triangle Park on the international map. And then he came to Duke to lead it to national and international prominence. And then when he decided to retire in his spare time, he became a U.S. Senator. So most schools, public policy schools, have been named for great political figures after they have died, which is a fine tradition. The difference here at Duke in the Sanford Master's Public Policy program is Terry Sanford led in the development of this program. This was his baby. This was the major project that he jumped on right after he became president of Duke. And so that's why you see in our Masters of Public Policy program such an emphasis on a synthesis of practitioner experience with the best scholarly research, an emphasis on qualitative judgment as well as quantitative evidence, and to be as interdisciplinary as possible. So we have on our faculty economists, political scientists, historians, and sociologists, all cooperating, discussing the major issues of the days with students. But there is a burden that the master's students of public policy here have, and that they are really inheriting a real legacy, a living legacy of Terry Sanford. You might not know it now, but it's going to grow on you and it's going to dawn on you as you go forward. Because what's been instilled in you here at Sanford is Terry Sanford's outrageous ambition, the outrageous ambition to change the world for the better. So as you go through in your policy career, whether it is doing it quietly through the best policy research in an organization, whether it's in the field, outdoors, in Durham, or in LA, or in Geneva, or in Mumbai, whether it's you're going to be leading a major organization engaged in public affairs, or whether you start your own, or whether you decide to do it boldly, like Terry Sanford, and put yourself out to run for elected office, you will find that you have a legacy propelling you forward, and you must accept that legacy. Now, we don't care whether you're liberal or conservative or something else. Excuse me. All sides these days need help in presenting themselves to the public. So don't worry about where you come out politically. Terry Sanford used to talk about, when he was running for governor in 1960, that it needed to be a new day for North Carolina. And then when he became president of Duke, he inspired people in my generation by talking about our new day. Well, today, it's your new day. And you need to accept that mantle and go forward with it. We know you can do it. We're proud of you for doing it. So please go do it and help the world. Thank you. Now, it's my great honor to recognize the class speaker, Alyssa Michele Chudnofsky, a great Sanford student and great Sanford citizen.
Truth be told, I was a lot more nervous than I thought, and I was like overheating in my cap and gown. And for those that know me from Duke basketball games, when I overheat, bad things happen. But that's a story for another time. Thank you, Mac, and thank you, friends and families, for celebrating with us today. After many holidays, family meals, and gatherings, I have realized that many people outside of Sanford do not fully know what a Master of Public Policy is. Yeah, Grandma. I'm talking to you. The MPP degree provides training in the role economics, politics, and culture play in public decision and policy formulation. We analyze dynamic, complex, and interactive systems through which public problems are identified and countered by creating new public policy or by reforming existing policy. We also take into account how policy impacts different stakeholder groups such as families, policymakers, businesses, and civil servants. I think by explaining our class, our backgrounds, and our interests, you will get a better sense of what public policy really is. Before coming to Duke, this class had very diverse work experiences. We have Peace Corps members, policy researchers, Teach for America members, an Army aviation officer, a social worker, people who worked for the Department of State, the Senate, the European Parliament, the United Nations, and my favorite, a Chick-fil-A staffer. We are interested in education, environmental policy, international development, public finance, national security, just to name a few. We all came to graduate school for a reason, and for each of us, there are moments when we realized we were at Duke and we were at Sanford, and that this is a place unlike any other and unlike other degree programs. I have 3 distinct moments. My first one occurred in Professor Nick Carnes' first day of politics class. On the first day, he had a picture of Karl Rove, the senior advisor to George W. Bush, on the board. He asked the class if we knew who this was. Immediately, eager hands went up and various chuckles sounded within the room. I sat there freaking out. I had no idea who it was. The person sitting next to me, it was Danny, whispered, "Oh, please, who wouldn't know who that is?" I just laughed along nervously. Yeah, right, of course, we all know who that is. I just sat there freaking out, where am I and why don't I know anything about politics? The second moment is during our 2012 presidential election party. We gathered at a classmate's house, and when I entered, let me tell you, it looked like a Super Bowl party. There was a big screen projector, chips, dip, beer. People were betting on state outcomes, whether we would go red or blue. When Elizabeth Warren won the seat in Massachusetts, there was fist pumping and chest bumping, and it got rowdy. And let's just say some people did not come to class the next day. You know who you are. The third moment is when I failed my first stats exam. I'm glad Professor Sanders is here. I got to the exam after studying for days. I sat down, I looked at the test, and it was all in Greek. And literally, though, it was in Greek. During the first 20 minutes, I sat there and I answered anything I could, and the rest of the time, I pictured calling my mother, telling her I failed graduate school and I was coming home. I went to Professor Seth Sanders' office right after, and I cried for way too long, and it got very awkward, but it was okay, because Seth told me to breathe, and he told me it was okay, because failure is how we learn best. From that moment on, I realized this is not an individual effort. I had professors who cared and classmates who were passionate about politics, social issues, and understood the importance of helping one another and collaborating. I cannot emphasize enough how grateful my fellow classmates and I are for the engagement of such committed and generous faculty members. This is not a program where they tell you to look to your left and your right because someone will not make it through. Instead, we hear, stop freaking out, you will all get B+ anyways, just learn for the sake of learning. We are not competitive, we are supportive, we are passionate, and we are extremely hardworking. Today is a day when we reflect on a few things: why we came to graduate school, our accomplishments, and where we are going. In high school, I was also the graduation speaker, and as you can tell, I've gotten very good at rigging these elections. I told my graduating class the most important thing is to figure out what you are passionate about. Looking back, I have some things I would like to tell 17-year-old me using what I've learned here at Sanford. First, finding your passion is extremely difficult. I went from reading Mia Hamm biographies, convinced I was going to be a professional soccer player, to being a psychologist, to a permanent camp counselor, which would have been awesome, to a teacher, to something that involves education somehow. Columnist David Brooks said, "No, you will not find your passion. Your passion will find you. Relax, wait for it. If you're observant, some large problem will plop itself right in front of you. It will define your mission and your calling." Finding your passion is not a one-time activity. It is something that is constantly developing based on our experiences. Many people came to Sanford with a clear vision, while others have changed their interests over time. This group came to graduate school because they saw problems in society and wanted to develop skills to solve those problems. I have learned to eliminate the pressure of finding my one true passion, but rather take the skills I have developed here to address the different passions that may present themselves. The second thing I've learned is about the importance of relationships. We have been told over and over that we are a strangely close group. Between basketball campouts, the Sanford Olympics, talent shows, intramural sports, chili cook-offs, beach week, mechanical bull riding to celebrate completed exams, and engagement parties, this class has always prioritized maintaining genuine relationships with one another. My dad has owned his own business for the past 30 years. He taught me that people are not motivated by monetary incentives, but rather by relationships. To paraphrase a Maya Angelou quote, people may forget what you said, forget what you did, but they will not forget how you engaged them and made them feel. This rings true for all the group projects I have worked on here at Sanford. No matter where I work next, I now understand the importance of developing relationships with the people I work with and the power of collaboration. The third and last important thing I've learned is the importance of learning how to learn. We have entered a time where people have up to 3 career changes in his or her lifetime. 1/3 of Fortune 500 companies vanish after 15 years, while 9 out of 10 startups will fail after 3 years. The inability to learn from failure and adapt is most likely a contributing factor to this failure. At Sanford, we have truly learned how to learn. How to ask the right questions, how to analyze problems, how to synthesize and process a ton of information at once. I'm leaving here humbled, but also with a unique confidence. I came to graduate school with the foolish naivete that I would learn most of the answers to solving education inequality in low-income areas. Instead, I've learned to question everything, question the data, question the incentives, the structure, basically question everything. Some may call this a strange paranoia, but I see it as not accepting the status quo and pushing the system to adapt, and most importantly, pushing ourselves to learn the skills necessary to bring about progress and positive change. We are supposedly a part of this me generation, a generation that takes pictures of themselves and cares very little about the world around them. While some of us may enjoy a selfie every once in a while, to the point that we were warned not to do that at all during this whole graduation, this class is passionate about leaving graduate school to positively impact the sector they care most about. After endless problem sets, research papers, exams, meta-analyses, group projects, presentations, debates, and a master's thesis, we are ready to take on what comes next. We have been asked questions we do not know the answer to. We have been asked to use statistical software that has a mind of its own, and we have been asked to do this all in a week's time or even in 48 hours. From here on out, this group can truly take on anything. And lastly, as I promised, here is my David Letterman-style top 10 things you hear in a conversation between 2 MPP students. Number 10, hey man, you're using a randomized control trial, right? Obvi, it's the gold standard. 9, movie or a baseball game tonight? Let me just do a quick cost-benefit analysis. Oh, a CBA, nice call. 8, yo, last night was crazy. Yeah, what happened? My data regressions were all statistically significant. 7, she didn't even use the Bardock method. Wait, seriously, I know, right? 6, how is your window of opportunity looking? It could be better. I could really use a newsworthy event about solar energy. 5, the State of the Union is Thursday. We should probably have a party. I'll make the Facebook event. Oh, never mind, 3 people already did it. 4, I'm still not sure about the movies tonight. Okay, then let's just look at your marginal benefit. 3, you take a class in the business school? Whoa, what is it like over there? Do you have to wear suits every day too now? Are they nice to you? 2, this study doesn't even have a control group. What, are they joking? And last, 1, does anyone know what a garbage can policy is? I still don't get it. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity to address you today. It has been an honor and a privilege. I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you to the faculty and Sanford staff for supporting us and truly caring about our futures. I have no doubt that this Sanford community will remain connected, and I'm extremely excited to see where we all go and the type of leaders we become. As I signed all my middle school's friends' yearbooks, have a great summer, keep in touch, you rock, and don't change too much. Thank you.
Now it's time for the donning of the hoods for the Masters of Public Policy graduates.
We're going to ask that you hold your applause until all the graduates have been hooded. Our first graduate to be hooded is going to be William Walker Morrison. He's being hooded from his seat by his master's project advisor, Professor Phyllis Pomeranz. Jeffrey Scott Alexander. Hassan Anwer. Sandra Brage Appelson. Monica Catherine Bandy. Henry Francis Beresford. Nina Rebecca Brooks. Brendan Robert Brown. Danis Elizabeth Brown. Anna Elizabeth Bryant. Daryl Demetrius Childers. Michael Allen Truly. Un Young Cho. Alyssa Michele Chudnofsky. Mark Christopher Compton. Indira Pridarshini Damu. Cassandra Jo Fagot. Susan Cohen Fusness. Alfonso Michael Fucci. Sukanya Garg. Shofei Gan. Rachel Leora Livingston Goldstein. Jonathan Gonzalez Diaz. Ryan Gorsicki. Sarah Kathleen Grantham. Philip M. Hammerline. Daniel Heller. Margaret Louise Hettinger. Rachel Elizabeth Honick. Yingchan Zhang. Marion Teniati Johnson. Adrienne Criolla Jones. Taisir Ahmed Khalid, MBA, MPP. Matthias Kimmel. Carly Ryan Krause, MBA, MPP. Michael Alexander Landis. Jarrett Marshall Lane. Jihei Lee. Adam Charles Lutterlow. Taiba Maktabi. Isel Masses. Melissa Rose Medeiros. Lauren Catherine Milam. Laura Morrison. Marcus Devon Morrow. Laura Kent Mortimer. Mark Chance Minshaw. Andrew Nels Olson. Russell Edward Owen. Rachel Halcyon Pittenger. Anindyastuti Rakhmadani. Jennifer Mimi Rimbach. Sonia Sikar. Sarah Rajesh Shah. Julianne Elizabeth Shelton. Guangyangzhe Xu. Ryan Patrick Smith. Emma Catherine Tessier. Megan Gonzalez Thigpen. Nina Alexandria Thomas Diggs. Patrick Blair Trame. Natalie Elizabeth Trebes. Colin Douglas Walsh. Lucas John Westmus. Margaret Jane McCormick Woods. Alton Fales Wright. Christine Rachel Yip. Nora Ann Morse, MEM, MPP. Tabitha Jean Vigliotti, MEM, MPP. Congratulations to the MPP class of 2014.
Now I'm going to announce the recipients of the MPP concentrations. I'd ask people in each concentration to stand, and then we'll have applause for each section. So in Energy and Environmental Policy, Hassan Anwar, Alfonso Michael Fucci, Sarah Kathleen Grantham, Matthias Kimmel, Gwynchao Chu, Colin Douglas Walsh. Now in Global Public Policy, Guanyang Xia, Jonathan Gonzalez Diaz, Rachel Elizabeth Honick, Izelle Masses, and Christine Rachel Yip. In Health Policy, Susan Cohen Fusness, Laura Kent Mortimer, Andrew Nels Olson, Sonia Sakar, and Natalie Elizabeth Treves. International Development Policy, Nina Rebecca Brooks, Danis Elizabeth Brown, Sukanya Garg, Laura Morrison, William Walker Morrison, Russell Edward Owen, Jennifer Mimi Rembach, and Julianne Elizabeth Shelton. National Security Policy, Sandra Brage Appleson, Jonathan Gonzalez Diaz, Jarrett Marshall Lane, and Adam Charles Lutterlow. And then in Social Policy, Daryl Demetrius Childers, Alyssa Michele Chudnofsky, Cassandra Jo Fago, Marion Tinyata Johnson, Melissa Rose Medeiros, Lauren Catherine Millum, Mark Chance Moonchow, Rachel Hallison Pittenger, Sarah Rajesh Shaw, Ryan Patrick Smith, Megan Gonzalez Thigpen, Nina Alexandria Thomas Diggs, and Lucas John Westmoss.
We're almost done. Good morning, and congratulations actually to the mothers and fathers in attendance here today. You did it. You can breathe more easily. My name is Ken Dodge, and I am very lucky to direct the PhD program here at Sanford. The mission of the PhD program at the Sanford School of Public Policy is to educate the next generation of scholars who will produce scientific knowledge that will inform and guide public policy. The Sanford program is rather new. This graduating class is just the third in the history of the program. The intentionally small size affords the opportunity to enroll extremely talented students and to provide them with the highest quality educational experience. Each student works closely with a faculty mentor and a committee of faculty members over years, many years, sometimes too many years, toward the goal of becoming the world's leading expert in a particular area of inquiry. And the areas of inquiry are very diverse. This year's graduating class, for example, includes a student who has studied how school districts assign children to schools, who violates those school districting policies, and what happens to them and why over time. To another graduate who has become an expert in higher education policy and politics. To a third graduate who has studied the role of philanthropy in the country of Egypt's transition from an autocracy to a democracy. Now, the way we'll work things here is that the faculty mentor, who has worked most closely with each student, will hood that student, welcome each graduate into the society of PhDs, and afterward teach them the secret handshake. This will be quick. We have 3 graduates this year. So, Professor Seth Sanders, please come up. Professor Seth Sanders will hood the first graduate, Catherine H. Duke.
Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you.
Next, Professor Kristen Gross will come up. Professor Kristen Goss will hood the second graduate, Catherine Elizabeth Harold. One more. Professor Helen Sunny Ladd will hood the third graduate, Sarah Tova Pilzer Weiss. Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating PhD class.
We have one more award to announce. Graduate program students and alumni selected Professor Bob Conrad as the recipient of the 2013-2014 Richard Stubbing Graduate Mentoring Award. The award was presented last night at the MPP reception. Congratulations on this honor, Bob. With the exception of one more observation I would like to share, this concludes today's ceremony. After students and faculty file out, please join us over at the Sanford School for a reception. My final observation is about you, our graduates, and Terry Sanford. Terry Sanford, as McCorkle noted, was a governor of North Carolina, U.S. Senator, and president of Duke University. He founded the Duke Public Policy Program with the intent of instilling graduates with, and I quote him, an abiding concern for justice, an intellectual sharpness, and an ability to think straight now and throughout life. As Max said, if Terry Sanford were here to meet the members of the class of 2014, we know he would be impressed. We know that his ceaseless hope for a better future would be reinforced. We know that he would be as proud of you as we are. Let us rise to our feet and offer our warmest congratulations to the Sanford School of Public Policy, class of 2014.